Now that Walls is on the ticket and that Midwestern dad is quickly becoming America's dad and Minnesota's getting more attention than a girl in a Call of Duty game lobby, I've had a lot of questions about Minnesota Nice and what it is, and I've seen a lot of statements about things that Walls will say that may not be interpreted as nice, and people will be like, so much for Minnesota Nice, because that doesn't mean what they think it means. So as the lifelong resident Minnesotan to outsiders, I am here to help. Minnesota Nice is like if Bless Your Heart from the South was an entire culture. It's this constant societal need to be polite and conscious and empathetic about everybody else's feelings all of the time. It's why if we don't finish our entire plate at a group gathering, we put it face down in the trash so somebody doesn't feel like we didn't like their food. It's why the last piece of shared food at any gathering in Minnesota will be infinitely cut into smaller fractions, but the last piece will never actually be taken. Because we need to be polite and we want somebody else to be able to have that last piece. It's why we'll mow our neighbor's yard and plow their driveway and help them fix their deck without even being asked and without ever expecting payment. Minnesota Nice can be very nice and polite and empathetic. We make great neighbors. You'll never have a better neighbor than a Minnesotan. Certain neighbors notwithstanding. And as nice as we are, we're still people, and there's people we don't like and people we don't get along with and things that bug us. And there's times that we really want to tell people that they must be a chef because they always put the stew in stupid. You know, and there's times that we want to remind Bob that we're still mad that he never returned the crescent wrench he borrowed 4 summers ago. But we have this societal expectation and this genetic predisposition to avoid confrontation and not be anything other than nice. So a lot of times we just end up not saying what we mean, except we still end up saying what we mean. We're kind of like Kitty from That 70s Show. She's a pretty good analog. She's always polite, has a smile on her face, drinks too much, and cooks a great dinner, but you'll know when she thinks you're a moron. And this extends to other stuff that's just joking. We're in like other places where you just harp on your friends about non-important things, like their brand of truck, for example. For like translation's sake, if you're a Chevy guy and your buddy buys a Ford and he drives it over to show it off and you give him a hard time being like, man, you're still spending all that money on those pieces of shit, huh, bud? One of these days, you're gonna wisen up and buy a bow tie. In Minnesota, that exact same conversation would go, wow, Jim, that is a real nice truck. How much did that set you back? At which point, he would be obligated to tell you that he got a really good deal on it. It's a Minnesota thing. We cannot talk about anything we've bought without telling you how good of a deal we got on something. Then you'd look it over a little bit, you'd compliment some of the features like the heated seats and that fancy newfangled backup camera, and then you'd say, man, I'd almost even consider getting me one of these if I could afford all the repair costs. That is Minnesota Nice in a nutshell. So you're never going to hear Walls come out and call his opponents names. He'll say things like, I can't wait to debate J.D. Vance, that is if he's willing to get up off the couch and show up. That was truly the most beautiful Minnesotan moment I've seen on the campaign trail. And this is why weird has worked so well. Because then he was talking about their policies and how they don't make any sense. And he's like, their policies, they're weird, but that's okay because we can handle weird. And it's so effective because it comes across as so genuine. Like you're not trying to say it to be mean. It's just weird. And that hurts more than like a direct attack. And Minnesota Nice plays perfectly in politics because it's warm and relatable. You're not going to offend anybody's delicate sensibilities. You're not a Minnesotan in tune with the intricacies of Minnesota Nice and you get hit with a Minnesota Nice insult. You just don't know how to react and you can't come back from that. It's usually going to take you a minute to even realize you've been insulted. Then once you do realize it and you know that you've been insulted and everybody else knows that you've been insulted, you still can't respond to it like you've been insulted because the insult was said with such ambiguity and generalization that it may not have been directed at you. It may not have been an insult at all. There's all kinds of plausible deniability. If you respond to that passive-aggressive Minnesota insult in the way that you would a normal insult, like when Donald Trump calls somebody a name, then suddenly you look like the asshole and bam, insult has double effectiveness. It is political kryptonite and it is making me so insanely excited for these debates. So sit back, relax, and enjoy just how Midwestern this shit is about to get.